Okay. Chag Sameach. First of all, big yesh koach to the holy tzaddikim that were involved in giving us such a feast of fruits. There's a psak halacha from the Magen Avram. Magen Avram was a Avram Avali. He's written on the side of the Shulchan Aruch. So that's important. That means it's important. He's written on the side of Shulchan Aruch. He said if somebody makes a chasna, they get married on Tu B'Shvat. It's a highly appropriate day to get married. It's a happy day. It's a wonderful day. You can have fruits by the chasna. Someone gets married on Tu B'Shvat. And there's a minig. It's a very serious minig. The chasna and kala that get married, what do they do on the day of the chasna? They fast. No eating. No drinking. But if the chasna is on Tu B'Shvat, then they're not allowed to fast. Because the Mishnah says that Tu B'Shvat is a Rosh Hashanah. And Rosh Hashanah is a holiday. And on holidays you don't fast. So if Tu B'Shvat's a Rosh Hashanah, so then it's a holiday. You don't fast, you eat. And the Chassan and Kala Baruch Hashem, they eat and they drink. And because it's Tu B'Shvat, they can go to the chuppah without a terrible migraine headache. Because that's what happens when you fast on the day of your chasna. The thing is about this, it's one thing to call it a Rosh Hashanah, but why is it a Rosh Hashanah? Why is Tu B'Shvat a Rosh Hashanah? Are we being judged for anything? It doesn't say anywhere that we're being judged for something. We're being judged like a fruit. What kind of fruit we are? What does it mean we're being judged? What's the Rosh Hashanah? Why is it a Rosh Hashanah? I want to share something with you. It's extremely, 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 extremely cool. The Makos in Mitzrayim, starting from Dam, the Dam Tzvedeya, the stupid frog, starting from Dam Tzvedeya, going all to Makos Bechiris, there's 10 of them. And they're parallel. They're parallel to the creation of the world. Because every step of creation, God said something. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. God said, let there be divisions in the waters that fill the world. And the water split. And every time God said that, it happened. The 10 Makos in Mitzrayim were parallel in the other direction. For example, you can figure out your own examples. For example, in creation, God said, let there be light, and there was light. In Mitzrayim, God said, let there be darkness, and the light was taken away. God created waters. There was water. And in Mitzrayim, there was no water. The water was turned into something else. There was no water. So the Makos, the plagues of Mitzrayim, were the creation in reverse. I don't know if this is a nice thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. I saw some advice for parents that they're frustrated the way the kids turn out, and not chas v'shalom that there's anything personal about anybody. I'm sure that everybody here are a joy to their parents. But this was a book. People write all kinds of things in books. They have suggestions, and they're frustrated that the kids turn out. So they should get a hold of the video of the birth. Some people, when the wife goes into childbirth, they video the birth. It's I don't know, it's a thing. So they should put that video, the cassette. I don't know if you know what a cassette is. I don't know if you know what a VCR is. But you put it into the thing and play the video over again backwards. Then instead of the kid, coming into the world, she goes back in. And in Mitzrayim, that's what was going on. Every single one of the Makos. There was a Hashem said, let there be earth, let there be earth. And in Mitzrayim, the earth turned into bugs, turned to lice, one after another. Let there be this. It's the doing and the undoing. We're gonna just go through a couple of them. Okay, the last one was Makas B'chairis. Makas B'chairis means the first child goes. The first child is undone. If you're the oldest child, I would take this seriously. The first child is always the first one to go. He's the beginning. The younger children could hide behind the older brother. So Makas B'chairis is the first child, he goes. So that's a parallel to Hashem saying that gracious. What does gracious mean? Gracious means the beginning of creation. The first day creation is the first child. Gracious means the first. It's like a bechor. It's like a first child. It's the initial. It's the oldest child is different than any other child because they make their parent into a parent. The second child is born to those who are parents already. So then the first child is creating. The first child is creating his parents. He makes the parent into a parent. So they had to go. Mitzrayim, they had to go. No more creation. The one who made the Egyptians into parents, they all died. No more creation. So that's undoing what Hashem did when Hashem created the first of the world. We talked about the Makas Chayshech, so that's a parallel to Shiur. On the second day creation, Hashem split the waters. That's Makas Arba, that's the locust. The locusts are the undoing of the splitting of the waters. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to figure that one out. The locusts are the undoing. And we know the dates of these things. We know the date when it occurred because you can go backwards. We know that Makas B'chairis is on the 15th day of Nisan. We know that because that's the night of the Pesach Seder. Okay. The next Makkah, we're going backwards. The next Makkah, backwards. We go backwards, that would be the 15th day of Adar. So that was Makas Chayshech. And then you go 15 days further back, that's the 15th day of Shvat, and that's the Makkah of Locust. So by reverse engineering, we know that the 15th day of Shvat, Tu B'Shvat was the locust. That was it. It wasn't by accident. It was determined the best day to have the locust is on Tu B'Shvat. What was taken by the locusts? Okay, there's two types of locusts. There's a locust and there's an anti-locust. First we'll talk about the locust, and then we'll talk about the anti-locust. What do locusts do? Shlomo Melech tells us, King Shlomo tells us something about locusts. The locusts are different than bees. Bees have a monarch. There's a queen bee. And there's a structure to the beehive. And there's worker drones. And the worker drones, they contribute towards the colony. And they are in service of the queen. So they're unified. They have a unified purpose, which means that bees are aware of each other. They work with one another. And they join together for a common purpose to serve something higher than them. Locusts do not have that. Locusts have the opposite. There's no locust all locusts are exactly the same. There's no one locust which is better than the other. There's no king locust, there's no prince locust, there's no duke locust. There's just locusts, plain, average, ordinary locusts. And there's no one, they don't listen to anybody. They don't accept the sovereignty of anybody. They don't have a higher purpose. They don't look up to anybody. They're just locusts. Number two, they don't care about each other. They don't care about each other. If a locust is eating, and he sees that there's another locust next to him, it's hungry. He doesn't say, "Here, come over. You can eat some of my figs." Doesn't seem like the Bacham and Yeshiva are eating the figs, so there's plenty of figs. So come, he shares. They don't share. They have a nature. They have one nature. One nature is to fill the stomach, their own stomach. They don't care if the rest of the locusts drop dead from hunger. They don't care. And they don't care if some big locust puts on a crown and says, wait, don't do it that way. Do it my way. They don't listen to anybody. And that's the nature of locusts. And this is from King Shlomo, and he certainly understood them. At the same time, did you ever get attacked by a single solitary locust? Did that ever happen to you? It never happened to anybody because they attack in swarms. So you have a creature which is solitary. It's on its own. It doesn't recognize anything outside of itself. And at the same time, the only way they damage is to come together in swarms. Now you think if they came together in swarms, I don't know about you. It's like there's a lot of beef sometimes between people. People, not here, chas v'shalom, but other places. There's a lot of beef between people, and a lot of it is because they don't understand each other. They never work together with each other. Let's say you had a whole bunch of places like yeshivas, maybe they got together to pack food for people. Use your wildest imagination. Could this ever happen? A bunch of yeshivas got together to pack food or to make tzitzis for soldiers in the army. Could you ever imagine such a thing happening? And they're saying to a bunch of losers, they look at each other, a bunch of weirdos and losers, but they see, this guy helps him, this guy doesn't have a clue how to tie those knots. And then you got the Sephardi knots, and then there's a Sephardi guy, he helps them, and you have 100 people in the room, and they all work together towards a project, and they walk out of it, and they say, hey, these guys are not so bad after all. And from then on, they work together. Because there was something in the way, and it got out of the way by common activity. But locusts, when you're talking about locusts, they're not aware. To them, every other locust is like a loser from another yeshiva. They won't talk to them. At best, they'll stay away from them. And sometimes they'll get into a rumble with them. And even when they have this common project that they want to strip the field all together now, and they all do it, and they need each other for it. But after it's all over, they just go their own way and fill their own stomach. Which is another way of saying the locusts are incapable of coming together. They came together because they want to strip the whole field. That's the only reason. But they didn't unite with each other. As they're stripping the field, they're not looking at each other with pride. We are such good field strippers. Wow, that was amazing that the way the guy stripped the corn stalk, that it looked like a corn stalk there was never anything on it in the first place. I'm in awe of him. I want to be his friend. Nothing. They just want to destroy in order to destroy. You need a lot of them. They're working together because of a purpose. But then they walk away and they're still only concerned about their own stomach. So locusts are two things. First of all, they don't work together. They don't acknowledge anyone on top of them, and they're incapable of joining together. And even when they're forced to act together, it doesn't change them. There's another type of you find this in another form. It's interesting. It's like an anti-locust. It's called Yitzchak Avinu, the Yitzchak Avinu syndrome. All right, Yitzchak Avinu. The plan was Yitzchak Avinu is going to be put onto an altar. He's going to be slaughtered. The slaughtering someone breaks him up into parts. He's separated because when they chop the head from the body, it's separated, it's dismembered. Then there's a fire, and the fire burns him up, and the fire turns him into ashes, and then there's nothing left for him but small particles that aren't stuck together. What happens if you want to make bricks out of dirt? Dry dirt. So you take some water, add it in, mush it up until it's like gooey, put it in the oven, dry it, and you got a brick. So you add water to dirt so that it could stick together. What happens if you try and make a brick out of ashes? Put the water in the ashes, powdered ashes, make a shape out of it, put it in the oven. You know what's going to happen to that brick? It'll crumble. You can't combine ashes. When we say that Yitzchak Avinu was chopped up and burnt, so that means he's representing something that can't be put back together. And yet, what's that called? When Avram Avinu did that, what was that called? That's called Akedah Yitzchak. What does the word Akedah mean? Binding together. It's very interesting because of all the things that were done by Akedah Yitzchak, what's the least significant detail? The binding. The putting on the altar, that's significant. The slaughtering is significant. The burning is significant. That's all significant. And the binding, that's just a detail. But it's called Akedah Yitzchak. You know why? Because Yitzchak represents that no matter how many pieces you chop a Jew into, it's not just going to be profound. You could chop a Jew into pieces. You could burn him. You could reduce him to former elements. You could you can turn him into a form that you can't combine and can never have any substance, and we still don't go down. We're still bound together. That's why it's called Akedah Yitzchak. It's the binding of Yitzchak because it shows us that you can't do that. A Jew could always come back. A Jew dies, and his body turns to dust, and then it's amazing, and it comes back together. So sum up what we said. Locusts, they're apart even when they're put together, and they work together, and they attack together, and they have this one mass, it's a cloud together, that still will not succeed in making them into one unit. And Yitzchak is someone that when you put him on an altar, chop him up, burn him, you still can't separate him. A Jew cannot be separated. Tu B'Shvat. The Makkah of Locust happened on Tu B'Shvat. That tells us something about Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat has a lot to do with trees, but on a very, very, very basic level, when a fruit comes out of a tree, on Tu B'Shvat is when all the elements to contribute to making a fruit, they all coalesce inside of the tree. That's when all the rain has to go into a tree. Nutrients have to go into the tree. Sunlight has to go into the tree. Soil. There's so many different elements that go into that tree. And it all comes to a head on Tu B'Shvat. That's the day. Until Tu B'Shvat, it's not filled up. It's like plugging a car into the outlet. They have these electric cars, they're amazing. They had a problem with the mileage until they created the world's longest extension cords. Now you could go like 1,000 miles. They have a 1,000-mile extension cord. That was my invention. But the tree, until Tu B'Shvat, it's not an empty. It's 25%. It's whatever. I have a thing. I fill up my car. Actually, I don't fill up my car. I drive it until the light goes on, and then I lend it to my wife. That's how I fill up my car. This tree is not. It's on empty. And then a little bit more, and a little bit more, a little bit more. The significance of Tu B'Shvat is because it's the time of the year that all the small particles, all the little parts, unrelated things, they all come together within that tree, and then it's a beautiful sweetness comes out. Tu B'Shvat is uniting things that have nothing to do with each other, and being a beautiful, beautiful sweetness. It's a Rosh Hashanah. What are we being judged on? Okay, you understand what it is now? Okay, so far so good. Tu B'Shvat is don't be a locust. Tu B'Shvat is don't be a locust. That's first thing. It's a very, very, very unique type of judgment. It's unique. Maybe we never thought of it. There's Rosh Hashanah where we get judged whether we're going to live or die, or the quality of life. Tu B'Shvat is a Rosh Hashanah. It's very much a Rosh Hashanah. You know what we're judged for? We're judged for our attitude, for our perspective. We're judged for the way we view things. We're judged on the way we view ourselves. We have so many abilities, talents, qualities. We have opportunities. We have environment. All those things make a person. So there's two ways to look at it. One is, I just so happen to be born in Chicago, which is the most amazing place to be born in. I was born with like a step up, with an advantage that other people don't have. Someone's born into a certain type of family. Someone's gifted. He's like the most awesome hoop player. Like he can just get the ball in. He's amazing. He's quick. He's fast. He's smart. He's brilliant. He just happens to be strong. He just happens to be talented. He has a natural affinity for music. He can be kind, so he can reach out to people. And we can look at ourselves the wrong way, that you have 20 different things about you, and each one of them just happened. It's a nice mix. On Tu B'Shvat, we get judged for one thing, this thing. The way you look at yourself, the way you look at your world. These are not accidents. Every single thing that contributed to you, every single thing, every detail, even our shortcomings, we're all meant to combine together in a nice mix to produce one person. You, uniquely you. In a cake, you put salt in. Is that retarded? Because salt on its own makes the cake taste salty, but you put it into the cake, it reacts with the baking powder or something. That's what they told me. And we're a mix. We're a mix. We're like the Pillsbury Doughboy. We're a mix. We need all. Do you know what that is even? Pillsbury Doughboy? Oh, forget it. Yeah, forget it. Delete. We are all one. All the other Jews in the world. There's no one that we could do without. We need them. We need each other. We can't be we unless we have them. We are definitely to be a product of the people in our lives. On Tu B'Shvat, we get judged. We're all a tree. We all have the same nutrients. That's who we are. And most of all, I say this from a perspective of a Rebbe, but you could apply it. We get judged on the people that we reject from our lives. Perspective of a Rebbe. What's that called? POV? Did I use that properly? POV? Point of view? That was good? Okay. POV. Rebbe in a classroom. And there's the students are challenging. There's one student that there's absolutely nothing to him. We'll describe that student as chopped up and burnt ashes. And of course, we know what that is. We don't need to go into what a student who's chopped up with burnt ashes and they're there. And the Rebbe thinks he's talented. He can reach anyone. And if he can't reach the guy, it's his fault. It's not the rabbi's fault. And the rabbi's sitting there like that. And I can't do it. And he goes over and we have to get this guy out of the class. He's not making it. It's not working. Okay, maybe yes, maybe not. But one thing we learned from Tu B'Shvat, that if you could take chopped up and burnt up ashes, it's a description of something that cannot come together. It can never be whole. You try and make it whole, it will fall apart again. Sound familiar? It happens. Chopped up, burnt things could never be made whole, and even if they can be made whole, it'll last for a second, a wind comes and it blows apart again. You can't give up hope on that. We're not locusts. We're Yitzchak Avinu. And we could come together. And on Tu B'Shvat, we get judged for that as well. Anyway, happy Rosh Hashanah.